So, hello, my name is Alex. I'm from the Hello World team. And as we're talking about languages and we are an international team, we'll be doing it in English. First, I want to ask you a couple questions, and then I would like to ask you to do something. For the questions, since we are using Zoom and Facebook and YouTube, please use the raise hand function or the thumbs up, which I would love, or the wave function from Zoom in order to answer my questions. So the first question is, who of you knows more than one language? A second or a third language, perhaps? And I would like you to use the, well, actually here in the room as well. Yeah, everybody, come on. Lamar, are people doing something here on Zoom? Yes. Okay, thanks. And then second question is, who of you thinks that their vocabulary, like the amount of words that they know, could actually be, could be more, could be better? They could have a better vocabulary. If you think you could improve on that, please give us a notice here as well. Hands are up, awesome, perfect. And then the third question is, who of you really loves and enjoys sitting down at a table and learning vocabulary? Who's really into that? Actually, very few people, actually. I don't know how it is on Zoom. And I would like to ask you to do something. I would like you to grab your smartphone, get your smartphone out, unlock it, and please go to your Photos app. And in your Photos app, it doesn't matter if it's iOS or Android, you have a search function. And I want you to go to that search function and type in the word, and now it depends on your operating system, if it's in German or English. If it's in German, type in the word Strand. If it's in English, type in the word beach, please. And so you should be looking at vacation pictures right now. And that kind of shows you how well image recognition, object recognition is working at this point already. And I also want you to type in another word. Depending on if you're a dog or a cat person, type in the word dog or Hund if your operating system is German, and cat if it's in English. And now you should be looking at a four-pawed friend that you probably really liked and took pictures of. And what you could kind of tell right now is these pictures are from your past. They evoke an emotion within you. And that emotional state is very important for learning, actually. And we want to use exactly that. And so I'm handed off to Jeremy.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. So I think more important than just languages, we're really interested in learning in general and what that means for each individual, because we think learning is really the economic catalyst for everyone moving forward, and language is the first thing we want to focus on. So the reality is of learning, and if we think about learning, we think about education. The reality is basically, if you think about how we teach ourselves and how we've done things in the past, it looks something like this, where basically you're in a classroom and there's someone up front, like I am, and lecturing, and it's very top-down. Also, the reality is, based on our system today, if you think about how much schooling you've had, how much education you've had, the more you've had, the more you can earn. And I think that's changing a little bit. There's people like Peter Thiel, he's actually asking people not to study. He's giving people like $100,000 not to study, go to college, because he believes basically that education is not, higher education, there's a better way than going to college. But we also have this reality, work from home, and this is something that we're all confronted with right now. And I think for those of you that actually work from home, you know how it is when you have kids at home. But for those of you that have kids, or that are kids, or have to learn from home, it's really about learning from home. And what's happening now is there's this huge gap. So kids that have to learn from home, they have what we call basically a homework gap. So in the US alone, there were 50 million people, or kids, that had to switch to online learning. And if you can imagine what that means, if you don't have the right setup, you don't have the right computer, you don't have the right internet connection, it basically means you're kind of left out. So this is what we call the homework gap. And one student said basically using internet in their classroom, not to mention at home, is like sucking peanut butter, which is a favorite in my household, through a straw, which is extremely, extremely difficult. But the bottom line is the way we teach ourselves is really, really outdated. It's based on this idea of industrial age. We just wanted to scale something so everybody could learn, and it doesn't really fit to everybody. So what we're really focused on with Hello World is this idea of self-directed and personal learning, and what that means today. So basically, let's take this apart. So part one, personal. How do you make learning personal? The best way to learn is actually one-to-one. So if you're into developing or programming, there's this thing called paired programming or extreme programming, so you actually code with someone else right there on the same computer. And there, you actually learn more, and the code is actually better because you have 2 eyes, 4 eyes, a pair of eyes looking at the code. We can also do this online. If you just have a mentor or someone you're learning from, it's a one-to-one relationship, and that works as well. But the problem is, the reality is basically, if you look at how we actually teach ourselves, it's one to many. In this case, we have an auditorium hall or a lecture hall where there's potentially 200 people, and you're just one other number in the system. And obviously, what that means is it's going to be less effective for learning. So the second part is this idea of context and what that means. So here's a photo of a teacher, and she's teaching this child basically the philosophy called Montessori school. And my kids went to a Montessori school, as well as Jeff Bezos, as well as P. Diddy, if you're of that age, as well as not Elon, but Sergey and Larry. They went to a Montessori school. And what that means is it's really focused on the personal learning development, and it's mixed classes. If you think about it, it's a lot like how we do things today in projects. It's not people of the same age working together, it's people that are mixed doing different disciplines. And that's how we actually learn better. But the problem is, if we go back to the problem, and what's happening today is we just have standardized material. And the standardized material is not personal, it's not self-directed, and it's very disconnected from reality. So I remember studying in college, studying art history in the US. And obviously we studied all the greats like Da Vinci and things, but I had no real relationship to the art itself because it was only through a book. But when I moved over here to Europe, then you have this idea, a bigger idea of this context of what does art mean and what is the influence. And that's what's missing in schools today. So what we're doing is, like we said in the beginning, we're focused on language as in the first step, but we really want to focus on learning. So our first thing, what we did for the whole program is created a prototype, and we're just going to show you screens for this presentation today. So basically, you have this idea of onboarding screen. So what does the app do? In this case, it's an app, but it's a whole platform. Craft it from your own experiences. It's exactly what Alex said. We use your own memories, your own experiences to craft learning material. Because, like I said, every learner is individual, and every individual is a learner. And then, like a lot of apps, you choose your language. In this case, we will choose German. And then you see, okay, these are the 100 most common words in German. So what happens is when I click on the little camera icon, the blue camera icon, it'll ask for access to your photos, like you did earlier with Alex's exercise. And what what it does is the machine learning takes those photos and categorizes them based on those 100 most popular words in German. So in this case, it'd be Katze, gehen, Blumen, Fahrzeug, person, super, Schuh, etc. And what you have is personal learning material based on your own memories. And we think that is a lot more effective than just having something off the shelf from some book. And lastly, what's really important here is this concept of machine learning. So the platform actually learns while you learn as well. So it's kind of learning in tandem, if you think about that. So you're learning while the machine learns, but in the end, it's really focused on the human. It's not focused on scale, it's just focused on you as an individual learner. So why is this important now? Why do we think this is important now? Because basically 3 things. Number one, if you think about consumer technology, everyone, we have these in the back of our pocket, smartphones, and we all have them, we all use them, and I think the camera app is one of the most popular apps we use. Number 2, infrastructure. Cloud computing makes it possible that we can work almost anywhere. If you remember seeing Adrian and Davi, they work remote, but they work in different areas. But the infrastructure, the cloud computing, Box and Dropbox and all these other platforms, they allow them to do that. And then thirdly, as soon as COVID opens up borders and we get a vaccine or whatever, I think more people are going to want to work in different areas. And you see that also with Adrian and David. David, I believe, is somewhere in Asia. Adrian is in somewhere in Georgia or somewhere in the east, not Georgia, U.S. And I think that's really important. I think once we understand what happened with COVID and the learnings, I think a lot more people will want to work from somewhere else and not in an office. So here's some big numbers for you. The market size is quite huge, 120 billion for the learning itself. It's growing rapidly. So e-learning or learning in general, education is a huge market. And then this idea of asynchronous versus synchronous learning. Synchronous learning is also growing quite rapidly. And then if we narrow it down to what we're focused on now, it's really about the language, also a huge market. Almost 18% year-on-year growth. And then, if you think about the language, it's English, it's Mandarin, and Spanish. Those are the dominant languages. I'm going to hand it back to Alex, and he's going to finish up the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So yeah, you're looking at a Netflix image. Why did we put that up? As a business model, we are kind of using a similar approach. So we want to provide a full functional app to anyone who wants to try it out for a limited amount of time. And then if you really like it, then you purchase it and you pay an amount per month where you're a subscriber now. This is the team. So we combine product, design, marketing, business development, engineering, and software development, basically. So decades almost of experience put together, at least.
I like to say the best from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, because we're all different age groups.
Yeah.
You can guess who's the older and who's the younger.
Yeah, it's 3 decades. It's figured out. So that's our team. And for a timeline, we're pushing it. We want to go through Q1 2021 and have our release of the app, actually. So we're still working on it. We're a young team, but we're very focused on getting this off the ground and are working hard to continue, right?
Correct.
And I think that's it
That's
for
us.
so far. So we're happy to take some questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.